held on to, then the mind actually wants privacy, and it wants to be in charge of the body. It wants to be the ruler of what the body does, and it will even generate ideas like freedom of the body, or wealth of the body, or all kinds of different things just to maintain that. But what Jesus is calling us to is He's calling us to let these thoughts be given over to me so that they can be under my control. That's where the title comes from. Under Christ's control is basically you're giving those thoughts over to Jesus and saying, here, I've not been able to successfully free my mind with these thoughts, but if you use them, you direct the behavior, you direct my words, you direct my actions. Let these thoughts be under your control, and then Jesus says you'll be able to be taken into that place of innocence, of true freedom of the mind. So I had another friend of mine who wrote to me, and he said, I don't even like that title of your upcoming online retreat, Under Christ's Control. He said, I don't like that title. And he said, maybe it's just the control word. I don't like that. I don't even like that word. I don't like that word control, and don't put it next to Christ either. It doesn't sound good. And I said, well, it's kind of from Absence from Felicity, Jesus telling Helen Schuckman, a good scribe should be under Christ control. Because she was always wanting to be very autonomous with her scribal ability. I'll do it whenever I want to, and she even tried to do a writing strike on Jesus, where she absolutely refused to write down Jesus' words. And this went on for quite a few days until she just had so much anxiety and tension built up, and that's when this thing came in. A good scribe should be under Christ's control. So really, this is for all of us. And I'm thinking back to the days when I traveled with my friend Resta, where she loved all these movie metaphors, but she really liked the Pinocchio metaphor, where Pinocchio wants to be a real boy. He's a puppet, but he wants to be a real boy, and then he goes to Pleasure Island and things go downhill from there. But it's a very good fairy tale. It's a good fairy tale for all of us, because what Resta would say is, I want to be put back on the strings. In other words, it's from this sense of autonomy, from this sense of wanting to have personal control, which is egoic, over the body. And even when you're struggling, if you're struggling with weight issues, you're trying to control the body. If you're struggling with issues around body image, if you're struggling with issues about doing things that you don't really want to do, or wishing you could be doing other things, and there's still this idea that you have direct control over the body, it's still an autonomous, egoic wish to control that's underneath it, and that's where the guilt comes in, and the fear comes in. Resta would say, put me back on the strings. She was always saying, put me back on the strings. I want to be under Christ's control. I would rather let Jesus and the Holy Spirit be using my body. And she did work on that quite a lot. She had over 170 songs that came through her when she was allowing it to come through her, to scribe the songs, and then also to play the songs on the guitar and sing them. So that's kind of the core of where we're going with all this. That's where the core issue is, right there. That's where the control is.
So does the fear get more intense because I'm about, maybe just coming on here, like having to be here?
Having to be here.
or like something's about to be asked of me, and that's where because why would it get so intense right when you arrive?
You were doing fine till I showed up.
It was manageable.
Well, I think all of us are like, well, that it sounds good sentimentally, but what is Jesus going to actually have me do? Am I going to have to go out on the street corner and preach about the kingdom of heaven? Or what exactly is the Spirit going to have me do? And that's kind of that is just an ego fear of letting go of running the show. That's basically what it is. You know, for me, I had to ease my way into things, and then it was more like, okay, Jesus, you're going to have to show me. You're going to have to do it through me and show me that this is going to work out. And then we end up doing all kinds of things we never imagined doing, and Swava ends up taking down all these songs. I think she's got 60 or 70 songs, and just had an album come through her, and all kinds of things that we never would even imagine we would be doing come when we surrender, when we just say, use me. Mm. So maybe that's part of it. You're just, now it's getting closer into that use me phase. What will be asked of me? Mm. And I think that's a common fear. Like, if I'm under Christ's control, oh my God, what will the Holy Spirit say through me and do through me? How is my family going to take this? And you know, that gets me into, I was looking at some of the questions, and a lot of the questions that were written in, whether it's Rich, I love your question about Marianne Williamson running for president, and then, I mean, I went through all the questions, and basically a lot of them have to do, whether it's dealing with parents, it's dealing with physical conditions, it's dealing with children. Bridget wrote in about her arthritis, and her age and her job. And Heike wrote in about her parents, her father having dementia, and her mother being increasingly unable to function, and so on and so forth. When I was reading through these questions, what came to me was this idea of forgetting that we're dreaming, getting caught up into these roles, and then getting caught into this habitual predicament of analyzing people and judging their motives. Because Jesus tells us in the Course that you can't accurately judge the motives of anyone without using the ego. Whenever you're judging the motives of anyone, if we look at somebody who's a Course in Miracles teacher like Marianne Williamson running for President of the United States, and we judge her motives, we say, what is she doing? What is she doing that for? Whatever it is, positively or negatively, then we're activating the ego to judge the motives of Marianne. Or it could be with your parents, it could be with your children. Maybe you do it with the person you think you are. You're constantly judging the motives of that person. What are they up to? There's a little bit of dissociation going on there, but what were they thinking? Why did I do that? You know, some of you have done something, and then on God's good earth, why did I decide to do something that is so stupid or so dumb? And so that's like a judgment of the personal self. But what it is every time we are judging the motives of others, we're very much caught up into the roles, and very much looking outside of ourselves, outside of our mind, and we're asking the why question. We're asking, what are they up to? Why did they do that? But we're asking it of them. We're asking it of the dream characters. Mm-hmm. We're not bringing it back to, like the song that Slava just sang, bring it back. We're not bringing it back to the mind. What is it for me? What is it for my own motive? We're asking it in terms of these dream characters. And then when we do this, we've already bought the bait of the ego, because you cannot analyze the motives of others without activating and using the ego. And the purpose of the Course is for us not to engage the ego, not to activate it, not to use it, at all, because it's a poor counselor, it's a poor teacher. It doesn't know who it is, it doesn't know who we are, it doesn't know that we're the Christ, the Holy Son of God, and therefore, at one point Jesus says the ego knows nothing. It doesn't even know anything at all. And why would you look to that for your advisor, your counselor, your teacher? Why would you try to use it to analyze the motives of others when you are simply perpetuating an ego identification every time that happens? So that's just an example of a very, very bad habit that keeps Groundhog Day going. And we have to come to another way of approaching our life, another way of going towards healing, towards wholeness, towards love and light, by trusting the guidance of the Holy Spirit, the guidance of Jesus, to tell us if we're to say anything, if we're to do anything, if we're to go, if we're to have time back and rest, to step back. That's what you've been looking at lately, is just this idea of being actually very active, and there was a role activated there, and then now it's like a stepping back from that role, and facing whatever emotions come from that as well. So it's very profound. Very, very profound. And you might imagine that if you start to loosen from these past references and these past motives that you've had, you're just opening your mind up to be used in a new way. You're opening to the purpose of peace. You're opening to a state of mind that is tranquil. You're even opening to a new definition of worth, because instead of your worth being on how much did you get done, what did you do, it's opening to your worth being tied to your state of mind. What emotion am I experiencing? My peace blesses the whole world. My holiness blesses the whole world. There's nothing my holiness cannot do. You see how Jesus is starting to teach us that our state of mind is what's important, and our state of mind is what we have and are. So it's not a product, it's not an outcome, it's not something that can be found on a resume or written up in terms of a life novel. It's not going to be found in any of those things. It's actually only going to be discovered as a state of mind. So you can see how radically different this is. Sometimes even people, when they hear that clueless, carefree and cared for, they think, wow, that sounds like easy street, you know? And in one sense it is very easy, but also you have to first put the effort of your mind in being vigilant for God and being vigilant for your peace of mind and vigilant against this ego thinking. That's where the effort comes in, before you discover this state of mind that is so easy, that is so simple, that is so natural. So it does seem to take effort to turn the tables, to reverse the thinking, to reverse the thinking of your mind completely. That is where the effort seems to come in.
Get ready for David Hoffmeister's book, This Moment is Your Miracle: Spiritual Tools to Transcend Fear and Experience the Power of the Present Moment. Author of 22 inspirational books and forward writer Alan Cohen says David is a guide of the highest caliber. This book can help you learn how to trust your inner guidance and accept the miracles life is offering right now. This book invites you to welcome your inherent innocence and to that eternal peace within. New York Times bestseller Gabrielle